morning, your good friend Michelle Tarrant is going to read the personal story that you wrote.
I grew up in a Christian home. Sometimes we were convenient Christians. When it was convenient, we went to church, or holiday Christians, going on the important holidays, Christmas, Easter, and Mother's Day. I had a sister 5 years older, and when I came along, my parents were still struggling with the death of their infant son, Owen. Owen died at 6 months old in 1963. I believe my folks really weren't ready to have another child when they had me in 1967. So for 10 years, I was the baby, and then my parents had a surprise, and I became the middle of 3 girls. My father wasn't a father that told me he loved me or hugged me just because. He was a good dad, but words of affirmation and showing affection were not in his wheelhouse, unless I did something bad or got my whooping, and then he'd say, "You know I love you." I got in trouble a lot. I was baptized for the first time sometime between 11 and 12, I think. I know that is horrible not to know, but I remember that Sunday like it was yesterday, except the date of it. I knew if I answered the altar call, my dad would be bursting at the seams with pride. I knew that he would love me more, so I did answer the call. I knew what it was about, but for me, it was the love of my earthly father that was fueling the need to do it. So I did, and my dad beamed from ear to ear. We continued that convenient Christian lifestyle as I grew up. I often attended church with my best friend Brooke on Sunday and Wednesday nights. It was a church of God, and those folks were weird, but I was able to worship God. I continued to get in trouble to obtain the affection of my father. It became a routine. Dad would never tell me he was proud of me or that I did something well. However, he would brag to his firehouse friends, and they, in turn, would often share that with me. After I got married to my first husband, Jim, I thought about converting to Catholicism because he was a Catholic, and he would not attend a Baptist church with me. When I told my dad, he about had a heart attack. It was his extreme disapproval that kept me from doing that. I took the boys off and on to church when I married Jim, but really moved away from the church. I prayed the sinner's prayer every time it was offered just to ensure that I had entrance to heaven when I died. Jim and I divorced in 1995, and I was a single mom with zero support from him. I was angry at God and the church, so I didn't go, and I didn't make the best choices. I met Mark in May of 2000, and we married in September of 2000. He was not a Christian when we married, and he had the same questions and thoughts that I did. So Sunday mornings were not spent in church, but often quite at the Village Inn. It was the death of my dad in February 2005 that made me feel God's push and prompt to return to church. I shared that with Mark, and he offered to come with me as a support, but not for God. We tried a church that was not a fit for us. And then at Mary Ann's Pampered Chef party, there was talk of this amazing church that was home. She, Michelle, and Kathy encouraged me to come and to bring my family and try it out, because they couldn't imagine Sunday without GCC and you. So Mark and I attended and fell in love. At first we were pew warmers, but slowly we became involved in the church and quickly agreed that Sunday mornings were about GCC. Mark became a Christian, and he and Isabella were baptized at GCC. I have felt God's prompting more times than I really want to admit to rededicate my life and start afresh, but I shook it off or ignored it, never sharing it with anyone, still praying the sinner's prayer to ensure my final destination. Well, I've been trying to be a more obedient Christian and to do things I feel God prompting in my life, to walk through doors he opens for me, and to not look over my shoulder to see who he's really talking to. He's talking to me. So I mentioned it to Mark a couple Sundays ago. He was thinking about writing my name on the list and whispering it to you to let you know that what I was thinking, but I assured him that I was a big girl and I could handle this. So being obedient, even when it makes me uncomfortable, brought me to the point of being baptized today. Giving the good confession of baptism allows me to let go of my sins of the past, start afresh, and have confidence that heaven will be my eternal home.
Elizabeth, whenever we stand tall for Christ and are obedient for him, he has blessings that we can't imagine in front of us. And I'm happy for you for that. In obedience to the command of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ,